Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Where's your white? The white party's tonight. I got dressed. See, you got the memo. Thank you. You got the memo, too. My parents got the memo back there. This is going to be fun. So if you all don't know me by now, I'm Stephanie Tavares-Rance, co-founder of the Summer's Finest Film Festival. Thank you. And I'm super excited. All the 10 activations have been amazing today, even with the rain earlier. We had great turnout. But I'm really, really excited about what's going to happen right now because Reggie's a friend of Floyd and I's, and we're always happy to honor him and show his amazing work. But before we bring him out, my new best friend, I fell in love with Sean Finnie the minute I met him in LA. Sean is an amazing human being. He's also the Executive Vice President of Membership and Awards at AMPUS, which otherwise known as the Oscars. So, yes, and he's a beautiful black man, so we're excited about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sean Finnie to the stage.
Hello. Hello. They ain't got this turn on already?
Yeah.
How do you
Push the button.
Hello. Oh. Hello, it's me. Hello everybody. How y'all do? Y'all good? First, let's give it up for the queen that is Miss Stephanie Rance. Let's get a little louder for Stephanie. Yeah. Stephanie and Floyd, I tell you privately and I tell you in front of a crowd, thank you so much for what you are doing and how you are contributing to our culture consistently. So thank you for that so much. My name is Sean Finnie. I'm excited to be here amongst us for so many reasons. And I'm excited to bring up my friend, too, Mr. Reggie Hudlin. You know, when you think about impact on culture, and first of all, we are the culture, so there's that. But when you think about the people who are documenting our culture, who are capturing it so that we can share it with others to give us further permission to be ourselves, to me, that is Mr. Reggie Hudlin, giving us House Party, giving us the Great White Hype, giving us Django Unchained, and so many countless others. And so I'm honored to have this conversation and get into this. So come on here, Reggie. Come on in. And I need y'all to be participating in this. So like there's a few times I'm gonna be like, y'all with me? I need y'all to say, yeah. So let's practice it. Y'all with me? Yeah. One more time. Y'all with me? Yeah. Okay, cool. Reggie, my brother.
Yes, sir.
It's good to see you.
Oh, brother, it's good to see you. Good to be here.
Yes.
Thank you to the Rances.
Yes.
You know, here's the thing. We make them, but somebody got to show them. Thank you.
And Reggie, we've seen, I named off some of your titles because the list is long, brother, the list is long. But we've seen your impact on culture. And I'm just curious, you know, we've seen you do this with Mr. Clarence Avant as well. And talk to me a little bit about the importance of what this means to illuminate this pioneer from your perspective and why it was important for you to do so.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, when I got the phone call and it says, hey, the Poitier family has finally approved a documentary about Sidney Poitier's life, which there is no documentary about Sidney. It's like, this is the first one. And they said, do you want to do it? I'm like, well, it would be my honor. It would be my obligation. Because if someone else does it and it ain't right, I'm going to be mad. And it's one of those things where you suddenly get real clarity about who Sidney Poitier is to me, right? Because Sidney, I mean, he's so many things. He's a brilliant artist, he's a brilliant business person, and a brilliant activist. But really, he's the definition of a man. I mean, that's, you know, besides my father, when I think about, well, what defines black manhood, it's Sidney Poitier. And it's so deep in my DNA, I wasn't even conscious of it until I had to think about it in terms of making the film. And you just go, wow, well, he was this yardstick in my head. Yeah. And then you talk to other people and they're, oh yeah, mine too. Yeah. Men, women, didn't matter. You know, like he defined what a man was. So it's like, well, okay, how do we capture all that is him? Right? So I was saying, okay, let's go. Let's go to work. Let's tell this story.
And I think what's important, y'all ain't seen it yet, but I have. I think what's important is that you did capture him as a man, but you captured him as a child. You delve into kind of who he was and what his core values was and how that transcended. Because y'all, we got a chance to know Sidney once he was Sidney, right? But before Sidney, not having running water, not even having a mirror, he didn't even know what he really looked like. Not seeing a car until he was 10 years old. Talk to me about that research that had to be done in order to kind of dive into that.
Sure. Well, Sidney's the kind of person, we think we know him, right? Because he's been in our lives our whole life, right? And you just go, well, I've seen him. You know, he slept that crack in the heat of the night, and he did all these things, and, you know, I respect.
Yes.
But you realize you don't really know him. And for me to spend 2 years traveling inside his life, right, where you're just walking around inside of a person, and you find out all these, you go, what, and when these people that we put on pedestals for good reason, Sidney deserves to be on every pedestal, but once here's who you are as a human being, with all the challenges that we all are as human beings, then my admiration for his achievements is even greater, because he was as fragile and flawed as you and I are, but with no template, with no model of how to do it, he always made the right choice. We all look at our lives and go, if I could redo 1987 over, I would gladly do that.
Some of us wouldn't be here if they could redo.
So, I mean, but in every giant life decision, he made the right choice. And he came from nothing. And when I say nothing, we all go, well, you know, my parents, my grandparents, no, nothing. He, as you said, he had never seen a mirror. So he only knew what he looked like looking in water. But guess what? There's power that comes from that. Because you're not into yourself. You're not into, like, I'm cute. You know, you're just who you are as a human being. So every setback became a setup for a spring forward for him. Every obstacle became a win for him. And he couldn't read as an adult. Think about the most erudite man. Think about Sidney Poitier's voice. And you're a master actor and you couldn't read as an adult. So when you see his life, you go, there are no excuses. You're just not putting the work in. You're not making the right decisions. Get your mind right. So, I mean, so ultimately spending that time inside the word of Sidney Poitier, it changed me, and I can't wait in a month to show it to you, because I want you to feel what I felt. And instead of 2 years, you'll get it in 2 hours. But it's paying tribute to the man, but it's more than that. A great life, the final gift that a man's life can be is that we get to learn it and learn from it. So this is his final gift to us, his story.
Y'all with me? Okay, because that was church right there. And I think, Reggie, you mentioned that about his final gift. This being him being in it and helping to tell his own story, is the last thing that we have of him. Talk to me about the importance of having his family. First of all, they called you brother. Like, of all the people in the world, and I know why, but it's like they called you. Talk to me about the importance of really kind of sharing this story, because this isn't just a filmmaker telling their narration of what they think his life was. This is somebody who worked very closely, 2 years of research with the family to hear this. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, I mean, we sat down. I'm, grateful to be there. But I got right to the heart of the issue, which is that, can I tell his whole life? Right? Because telling a puff piece doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help us understand the man. It doesn't help us appreciate his achievements. We have to understand the struggle. So I start talking about every sensitive thing I knew in his life. Can I talk about this? Can I talk about that? Yes, yes, yes. Tell the truth. All right, then. Then I can do my job. Thank you. And, you know, Sidney's a person, he's written books about his life. He's done, lots of interviews. But, I will say, talking to the family, we learn things that no one knows about the man. So I'm very grateful for them being honest and true about the process and really, making his story, the real thing. And it's tough, I went through this before. I did a movie, I don't know if you all saw, called The Black Godfather about Clarence Avon. And these men who lived the most amazing lives, from their birth, their childhood, there's not a year of their life that was wasted. So you go, okay, and you hear all these stories, you go, okay, how are we gonna fit this in 2 hours? How? But you gotta do that, right? Because it's gotta be in a digestible form that you can just watch and go, okay, I got it, right? And it's tough because we're kind of in a post-literate society, right? Where folks don't really read. They'll read a headline. They'll read, what's on Twitter. Okay, I did you click through and read the article? Nah, I didn't do all that. So when you make a movie about a life like this, you realize this is probably going to be the primary text. 50 years from now, then they may not be reading books 50 years from now. I don't know what's going to happen. So this movie may be it. So I got to tell it right. So I'm just putting all this pressure on myself, right? People go, is it a lot of pressure? I'm like, there's no outside pressure that can be greater than me trying to do justice to a man that meant so much to me. Who inspired me as a director. I went to go see Bucking the Preacher. I took 2 buses from East St. Louis to St. Louis. Went to the Lowell State Theater and just was there. I went there, it was light out. I came out, it was dark. Because it was like, well, no reason to leave. Let's just watch it again. I'm going to get my money's worth. So you have those experiences and you just go, well, clearly he did it. I can do it. Right? These inspirations and telling the story of black cowboys and, So I had to do it right. So I tried my best, y'all. So September 23rd, it's going to be in theaters around the world. It's going to be on Apple. Right?
Select theaters and Apple Plus.
Check it out. Let me know what you think. If you liked it, let me know. If you don't like it, maybe you need to watch it again.
And bring a friend. Y'all with us? I think one of the things, too, when you talked about it, it really set with me when you were talking about he only saw himself in water. And when you think about the power of imagery, and the power, I'm just curious from your perspective, Reggie, talk to me about, as a filmmaker, your responsibility and understanding of the power of imagery, which is why I believe you wanted to tell his whole story. Just give me a little bit about that.
Right. Well, the thing is, Sidney Poitier was the Big Bang. He was the alpha. He was the beginning, right? He was the first time that you had an uncompromised black man on screen. And that had a global impact. So all of a sudden, people all over the world go, wait, black people can be that? We not just ducking, shuffling, and splitting infinitives? Like, oh, you could speak proper grammar, and you're not taking no mess, and you're classy, and you're elegant, and you're beautiful, and everyone in that theater, black, white, men, women, they all are like Sidney. So he is a one-man revolution. And understand, when you go from zero, from nothing, where a world could just think any racist depiction of black people is true, right? From Birth of a Nation, right, on, right? And he is the first, look, somebody said it, John Boyega, the actor, he said, Sidney Poitier is the first Avenger.
Say it one more time for the people in the back.
It was just him against Thanos. And he handled it. That's who Sidney Poitier is. He is the first Avenger. Let's be clear. So he had to fight, and he couldn't just depict it on screen. He had to live it, right? And he had to live it for black and white people. And we tough, because because our needs are so great, and he had to live up to our needs. And at the same time, he knew he had to speak to a global audience, and he had to work his way through Hollywood, which says, well, we only want one. And he's like, no, it's not just about me. I got to kick this door open, not just for me, but for everybody.
There were two, it's like when I think about a hit song, I'm always like, did they know in the studio that was going to be a hit? Like, did they know that was going to be number one? There were two quotes in the film that I think for me felt like a hit. And I'm curious if it landed with you as it did with me. One of the things where he was talking about, the thing is, you see yourself as a black man. I see myself as a man, which I think is so fascinating because at that time, being black meant less than, meant limited, meant scarcity. And then when he talked about family, and when he mentioned that the measure of a man is how he treats his kids, when you heard those as filmmakers, just talk to me about it when that landed for you.
Well, first of all, Sidney, when he speaks, he's dropping a jewel every time, right? So just, listen and pay attention because he just got him all day, right? And his delivery, I mean, the only I can compare it to is Miles Davis in terms of like the tone and the rhythm, and then he'll take a pause, and then he'll hit it again, and you're like, oh! Right? Just the flow. So it's hitting me on so many different levels simultaneously, right? Because when we were doing the score, we were like, put no music in that space. He put that pause there for a reason. Let it breathe. Leave it a moment alone, right? So you had to work with him and his artistry and his message simultaneously. So yes, those two statements are incredible, and there's so many because his family came from dire poverty. His mother would sit there and break rocks into little rocks, and sell the pebbles, right? But somehow this family, with no electricity, with no running water, with nothing, gave their son everything he needed to go all the way to the top.
Y'all can clap.
And that's a message for all of us, right? Because all of us as parents, we're trying to figure it out. The first one, we're amateurs. That's the first pancake. You know how that's going to turn out. But they had no idea that their son would be nominated for an Oscar and that he would know what to do when nominated for an Oscar. But they gave him the moral center, to know this. Okay, if I follow my parents' example as a couple, then I'll figure out the rest of it. And he was right. That's all he had, and it was enough.
And I think what's even more interesting is that not only did they not know what to do with him when he won or was nominated for the Academy, but they had never even seen a film on screen until they saw him on screen.
Yeah, his first movie, he went back home, and his parents went to their first movie.
Ever.
So imagine you're seeing a movie for the first time, and your son's starring in it. And this is the first time a black man is starring in a dramatic movie. He's playing a doctor. It's crazy. Yeah. So you just go, well, wait, so there's endless possibility, right? There's movies, and my son is in a movie, and he's a star, and he's starring as a doctor, treating white people. How many break? And that's his first movie. That's the warm-up.
And I think what's interesting about the film, and again, I can't wait till I'll see it September 23rd, is that this idea of you think you're going in for one thing, but it's more than that. I think you think you're going into, oh, let's learn about Sidney. But I think it's also about it, you end and feel like legacy. It makes you really think about legacy. What is my legacy? What is my contribution to this legacy? And what is my contribution to this space and community? And I'm curious for you, what is it that you hope that the audience takes away? And there's so much, so it's so layered, but I'm just curious for you.
Well, here's the question whenever you look at the life of a great person. Did the times make the man, or did the man make the times? Right? Because he grew up amongst titans. His best friend, Sidney Poitier. His best friend is Harry Belafonte. Right? Steel sharpening steel. Right? He's incredibly close friends with Dr. Martin Luther King. He literally put his life on the line for Dr. Martin Luther King. Right? So you have so did he do that because that time of the 1960s was so intense that you had to rise to the occasion or be a punk? Or was people like him, not only the Harry Belafonte, the Sidney Poitiers, and Martin Luther Kings, but the folks whose names you'll never know. They all rose up at the same time, and they got it done. And did they make the times? Like one of my favorite interviews in the movie is this brother named Reverend Willie Blue. I had this long list, people I wanted to interview, and they were like, who's Reverend Blue? I said, oh, no, we got to talk to Reverend Blue. When Sidney and Harry were going down south to deliver a briefcase full of money to the civil rights movement, because that's how you had to get it done back then. You couldn't trust any other, you had to go there and deliver the money. The Klan knew they were coming. And
tell them why they were delivering the money. Just a quick cliff note.
Well, a bunch of civil rights workers had been assassinated. Some people left and some people stayed. Like, no, we're not scared of you. So they needed some money just for room and board, just to, handle it. So they went down. The Klan knew they were coming. The Klan said, we're going to kill them both. They said, well, who's going to pick them up at the airport? Who's going to drive them? Some people were scared. You know who wasn't scared? Reverend Willie Blue. And when they tried to kill all of them, including Reverend Willie Blue, he was like, if this is how I die, I'm good with it. And Reverend Willie Blue is still a civil rights activist in the community today. You don't know him, but it doesn't matter that you don't know him. He's doing the work. He ain't here for fame. He was appreciative that I called, but he wasn't like, ooh, I'm in a movie. It was like, let me tell you what those men did. So it's yes, it's Sidney and it's Harry, but it's also Reverend Willie Blue. And we can be one of those three people. I can't sing, so I know I can't be Harry. I ain't as pretty as Sidney, so I'm gonna be Willie Blue. I'm gonna drive the car.
I think that's such an important note, because I think in this space right now where everything is digital and social, like some of us are scared to just put out the wrong tweet and be canceled on culture. And I think what's imperative and so necessary to just understand and take in is like, at that time, they were risking their life for our lives. You know what I'm saying? No pressure on anybody here. I'm just saying, though, to just take that in for a second, and for you for documenting it and being able to show it and put it together, because I think it's so necessary to remind everyone the links that people went before us to have this space for Stephanie and Floyd to create this space for us, which is why I bowed to her when I came there, because that's a queen who's using her platform. So I think it's just commitment to ourselves to continue to use our platforms, not for us. We are in these positions and in these seats to create more space for everyone else, but just thinking about how every move that we make, documented or not, we didn't know Reverend Willie Blue, but he was imperative to the story that we know now of these two titans. I want to get to some questions in just a bit, but before we get to some questions, I think we're going to show a trailer. Y'all, okay, let me just break this down to y'all real quick. This is the first time that they are bringing this trailer together. So, Mr. Armstrong, you need to put your phone down. This is not out yet. This ain't out yet. We don't want this on social, on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. This is just for us in the room to have this experience together.
I had to bring it because I love this festival so much. So I said, I got to be here. We got to show it. You got to show it to family first, right? So please be family. Let's keep it on the down low. In a couple of weeks, it'll be out. You can say, I saw it first, now I'm gonna show it to you. Yeah. But let's just take a look at it this time, and then we'll chit chat.
Yes, perfect. We can go ahead and cue it up.